Hello YouTube, this is that guy 781. We're going to be doing a firearm review. It's going to be a pistol review on the Hi-Point C9 9mm. Manufacturer's Hi-Point. The model's the C9, and as you can tell, it's chambered at 9mm. Alright, first let's go and rattle off the facts about the firearm as far as dimensions and weight and whatnot, so we can get that out of the way. The barrel length is 3.5 inches. The overall length is 6.75 inches. The weight is 29 ounces. The frame is a high-impact polymer. The finish is a black powder coat. Capacity is 8 rounds. With this, that's the standard, but there's an optional 10-round magazine for it. The sighting system, that as it comes from the factory, is a 3-dot sight. However, they do offer, with the pistol, a rear ghost ring sight. Now that 3-dot sight, the rear sight is adjustable. It is plus P rated, so you can shoot the plus P ammunition. It does have a thumb safety. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. First thing I want to address is when I first actually bought a Hi-Point originally, a Hi-Point was my first gun, and the question was, you know, why buy a Hi-Point again? And I'll tell you my experience about my first Hi-Point, and I'll try to keep it quick, keep it brief. I bought the gun for $199. It's the Hi-Point 45 caliber model, which is, sad to say, much bigger and heavier than this one. And I bought 100 rounds of ammunition for it from Walmart. Went to the gun range, and I was being made fun of for basically having a Hi-Point. Oh, it's going to jam, it's going to blow up in your hand, it's going to hurt you, it's going to do all these horrible things to you. So at any rate, it's like whatever. So I take it to the range, shot it. It shot flawlessly. A brand new firearm without me cleaning it or anything. Because I didn't know anything back then about, you know, first purchase a new firearm, you should clean it and all that. I didn't know that back then. So it was, didn't clean it or anything like that. Took it to the range, shot 100 rounds flawlessly. No failure to feed, no failure to eject, nothing like that. And I was actually fairly accurate with it. And that was important for me, being a new shooter at that time. So I kind of developed a little soft spot in my heart for the Hi-Points. I actually ended up selling that Hi-Point because I wanted to expand my my usage of different firearms and my ownership of different firearms. So I'm sad to say I sold it, and I actually regretted it ever since. So a few months ago, actually more than half a year now, I've been gone, but I came across this at one of my friend's pawn shops, and it was $100. So I paid $100 for it, which I thought was a fairly good deal. It was used. I mean, $100, you could spend $100 on, you know, a night out at dinner and a movie. So I really didn't feel the impact that much. So I got it for $100. I thought it was a great deal. And normally with these Hi-Points, you can expect to buy them new and seen anywhere from local gun stores from anywhere from $160 to $199. Online, they're a lot cheaper. I've seen them as cheap as $115 to about $160 is the max. And I'm referring to all calibers when I give you that price range. Alright, so let's go on and get into the pros of the Hi-Point C9 as I see them. Now, when I think about the Hi-Point series of pistols, I think they're going to be marketed to someone that's entry level, who's just now trying to get into firearms and just trying to get, you know, something to protect their home. They're not really interested in necessarily more advanced stuff like bugging out, concealed carry, long-term survival, or anything like that. It's all about just having something simple, affordable, that they can protect their home in need of an emergency, whether it be a robbery or anything like that. They keep it in their nightstand. They may shoot it once in a while, and after that, you know, they'll shoot it every now and then, but it's mainly for protection. It's not for sport or anything like that. So they're not trying to get a a high-dollar 1911 or anything like that. That's why I envision this firearm being marketed to. Now let's go and get into the pros of the Hi-Point. The first pro is very obvious. It's the price. The price is going to be very appealing. There's no denying that. As stated, if you're just getting into something, you don't want to make a large investment into it. You're new to it and you're just getting into something. So I can understand. I think the price is a pro for what you get. It's not a horrible Saturday night special like you know, like a Jennings or a Cobra or something like that, or Lorson. A lot of you may be familiar with those names. So the price is definitely a pro. The next pro is that I feel is a pro is the sighting system. The sights. Let's go to the safety check this one, by the way. Empty magazine, empty firearm. Alright, one of the pros is definitely, to me, the 3-dot sight system. The red in the back and the yellow in the front is a nice contrast when shooting, in my opinion, and it works well, especially for beginner shooters. Another pro that I feel is also the fact that the rear sight's adjustable, obviously. Another pro, I think, would possibly be the safety. As stated, if you have Glocks, SIGs, and etc., then the high point probably isn't something you're even considering because you already have higher end guns. Me, I just love a variety, and I like I said, I had a little soft spot in my heart for the high point before I acquired higher end guns. But the safety, I think, actually is a plus for beginners. If you're just getting into firearms, I don't recommend getting a firearm that doesn't have a safety if you're not going to conceal carry. Because, let's face it, an experienced veteran in the firearms community or just an experienced, someone who's very experienced with firearms, you're not going to make the same mistakes as someone who's new with it. As far as flagging people, keeping your finger out of the trigger wheel and stuff like that. So I think a safety would actually be definitely a pro for beginners. A con, if you're, if you're more advanced with your firearms and more proficient with them. The safety is very clearly marked. There's the red mark. It's safe, ready to fire, red, dead, and it's on safe. It's very simple, very easy to use. It's not ambidextrous, so you lefties are going to have to accommodate in some way, shape, or form. Another pro I feel is the trigger pull. What? Yeah, I think the trigger pull is good. The trigger pull, I prefer the trigger pull on this as opposed to some other firearms I have out here. The trigger isn't as long as some other traditional double actions. You already saw me safety check it. I'm gonna dry fire it, and it's not a bad trigger. It doesn't take that much pressure. It's probably, I don't have a trigger scale with me, but I'm assuming it can't be any more than 5 pounds. At least on this one, maybe because it's used and broken in, but it's not bad. Like with the high point, it's kind of dry fired again. It's a short trigger. It's very short, and as you can see, the trigger style, it's not like, for example, on this firearm, which will safety check as well, empty magazine, no round in the chamber. So you see how the trigger is on the PF9. And it's a very long double action pull like on the PF9. It's like, I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to shoot you one of these days, you're dead. It's a longer trigger. But PF9 does cost more. We'll get into that as well too. So I think the trigger is actually a plus. That longer double action trigger will actually hurt beginners with the, with the shooting. And I feel it should have a lighter trigger because it does have a safety on it. Those are the pros. Cons. Let's go and get into the cons. The cons of the pretty much all high point series pistols is going to be the weight. 29 ounces is extremely heavy for a gun that claims to be compact, and it's kind of overly excessive. It's an overly excessive weight, but that's because of their manufacturing process. They have to keep the cost low, so I guess they use certain materials as opposed to the higher end materials. The dimensions of the gun too are kind of it's an oxymoron when they call this gun a compact, because it's not compact. It's darn near full size in my opinion. But you take the width of the slide and you compare it to the width of the slide of the PF9, it's a complete different ballpark. We'll put the high point down, and then we'll put the PF9 down, line up the edges, and you see that there's almost another inch that the high point actually protrudes out, the PF9 is actually about 3/4 of an inch shorter, and it's just, I don't think it deserves the title to call itself a compact firearm. I think that's an exaggeration. Another con is for a pistol that I feel that that would honestly serve best as like a vehicle gun or a nightstand gun, is the capacity. With only 8 rounds, you're going to be kind of limited. From my experience, criminals work in pairs. They work in 2 or more when they're about to commit a crime, whether it be a burglary or a car theft or something like that. I don't know. They just like to work together. It's just, what can I say? They use teamwork. So 8 rounds for home defense, I think, is very minimal. You know, a lot of people, have revolvers that they keep, and that's fine for them. But I just honestly would prefer more, depending on your level of skill. I personally keep a 1911 in my nightstand just because it's a bigger caliber bullet, and I'm extremely accurate with it. And I've been in stressful situations and had to fire a weapon, so I know I'm proficient. Alright, so at any rate, the capacity I don't like, the weight I don't like, the dimensions I don't like so much. Now, another, to me, a definite con is the grips. These grips are slick. They almost look like they're oiled on camera, but they're not. That's just how the grips are. There's this shiny plastic with no real gripping surface. It looks textured, but it's a pointless texturing process that they go through, because if you sweat, like my fingers are just slipping off this right now. Just imagine if you had a sweaty hand or you had to use this weapon for a prolonged period of time. It just get annoying. It is comfortable to hold. The ergonomics are there. It's just the gripping surface needs to be checkered or something. They need to do something about that gripping surface. Alright, and let's see. Another con is it doesn't have an accessory rail, but it's not required. I mean, I don't like hanging stuff from my pistols, but I would like to have that option. If it's going to be a nightstand gun, that's always a cool option to have. Perhaps attach a light to it or something like that. I know there's a lot of controversy on, oh, you don't want to use a light because then the enemy will know where you're at and all that, but it all depends on the situation that occurs. So those are pretty much the cons in general. Now, I had actually a problem with this gun in particular. My first high point, that one functioned flawlessly. This one, on the other hand, it jams on pretty much every magazine. I've only shot it once because unfortunately I had to leave for a prolonged period of time. But when I did shoot it, it jammed on every magazine, and I'm not sure if it's the magazine or the firearm. I actually have yet to truly investigate it. Hopefully I'll be able to take this to the range and I'll be able to show you guys what I'm talking about before I send it off to High Point. But that is definitely something that made me feel a bit uncomfortable. However, High Point does have that unconditional warranty. Well, you send the firearm back, they'll either fix it or replace it, so that's good. That comes to another point I want to get to. When it comes to High Point, I mean, if you get one and let's just say it is a mixed bag, more so than other companies, you can always send it back and they can fix it. Yeah, it may be an inconvenience, but I've heard that they compensate you usually with like a magazine or something like that. So you're not too bad off. Alright, let's see. Other options on it. So I love the warranty. I love them when they do work. They're pretty accurate, and they actually do work when you get one that does work, but that's not always the case sometimes. Like I said, I'm going to try to do another video of me actually shooting the High Point. The question a lot of people like to ask me, would I buy it again, or would you recommend purchasing it? If you can get it for the price I got it for, yeah. If you get it for $100, sure, why not? It's something that may work or may not. If it doesn't work, you send it to the factory, they send it back, and you have a perfectly fine working pistol that you paid $100 for, and that may protect you in your time of need. It's a lot better than just having a sharp stick. And actually, I think that's pretty much going to wrap up the review on the firearm. One other point I want to make is that the takedown on the high point is very hard. It's not as easy as it is for Glocks, Berettas, etc. It's hard, and you practically need a hammer and a punch. So it's not an easy process to take apart. But if you get a good one, they do work. I would recommend getting one if you can get one for a good price. If you're going to get one new and the price is $200, I'd say just save them another $100 or $50 or whatever, and just get you something like a PF9. That way you'll have something that you can keep in your nightstand and you can carry with you. And you also have the accessory rail. It's thinner, lighter, and doesn't cost that much more. So that's another option for you. So just keep that in mind too. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching. This is ThatGuy781 signing out. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys will stay tuned and look forward to more videos. I'm finally back, so I'll be able to make some more videos for y'all. Thanks for watching.